The Giant and the Stolen Spring. On the outskirts of a bustling little town, there stood a great gray castle, surrounded by the most magnificent garden anyone had ever seen. It belonged to a giant, a man of immense size, with a booming voice and a temper to match. But the garden itself was the soul of gentleness. It had wide, soft lawns of the greenest grass, and dotted amongst them were flower beds that bloomed with star-like flowers of every imaginable color. There were 12 peach trees that in the springtime broke out into delicate blossoms of pearl and pink, and in the autumn bore rich, velvety fruit. The giant, however, was not often there to see it. He was a solitary fellow and preferred his own company. One day he went on a long journey to visit his only friend, a Cornish ogre, and he stayed with him for 7 whole years. In those 7 years, the children from the town discovered the garden. Every day, on their way home from school, they would lift the latch on the little wooden gate and spill into their secret paradise. They played hide and seek among the weeping willows, they made daisy chains on the sun-warmed grass, and their laughter, bright and clear, was sweeter to the garden than the songs of the birds that swooped and sang in the branches above. The garden loved having the children. It seemed to bloom more brightly and grow more lushly just for them. But at the end of 7 years, the giant returned. He came striding up the road, his heavy boots thudding on the ground, and when he reached his gate, he saw the children. His face, already stern, grew dark as a thundercloud. "What are you doing here?" he bellowed, and his voice was like the roar of a great waterfall. The children froze, their games stopped, their laughter died in their throats. They scattered in terror, their small legs carrying them as fast as they could away from the furious giant. They did not stop running until they were safely back in the town. "My own garden is my own garden," the giant grumbled to himself, stomping through the now empty grounds. "I will have nobody playing in it but myself."
And so he set to work. He gathered great blocks of stone, and with his powerful hands, he built a high, forbidding wall all around his beautiful garden. He fixed a strong iron gate in the wall and locked it fast. And to make his point perfectly clear, he hammered a large wooden sign onto it that read, "Trespassers will be prosecuted." The poor children now had nowhere to play. They tried playing on the road, but the road was dusty and full of hard stones, and they did not like it. They would wander around the high wall when their lessons were over and talk about the beautiful garden inside. "How happy we were there," they said to each other, their faces long with sadness. Then the spring came, and all over the country there were little blossoms and little birds. But in the garden of the selfish giant, it was still winter. The birds did not care to sing in it as there were no children, and the trees forgot to blossom. The only people who were pleased were the snow and the frost. "Spring has forgotten this garden," they cried, "so we will live here all the year round." The snow laid a great white cloak over the grass, and the frost painted all the trees silver. Then they invited the north wind to stay with them, and he came. He was wrapped in furs, and he roared all day about the garden and blew the chimney pots down. "This is a delightful spot," he said. "We must ask the hail on a visit." So the hail came. Every day for 3 hours he rattled on the roof of the castle till he broke most of the slats. And then he ran round and round the garden as fast as he could go. He was dressed in gray, and his breath was like ice. The giant sat at the window of his cold, white castle and looked out at his dead garden. "I cannot understand why the spring is so late in coming," he said. "I hope there will be a change in the weather." But the spring never came, nor the summer. The autumn gave golden fruit to every garden, but to the giant's garden she gave none. "He is too selfish," she said. So it was always winter there. One morning, the giant was lying awake in bed when he heard some lovely music. It sounded so sweet to his ears that he thought it must be the king's musicians passing by. It was really only a little linnet singing outside his window, but it was so long since he had heard a bird sing in his garden that it seemed to him to be the most beautiful music in the world. Then the hail stopped dancing over his head, and the north wind ceased his roaring, and a delicious perfume came to him through the open casement. "I believe the spring has come at last," said the giant, and he jumped out of bed and looked out. And what did he see? He saw a most wonderful sight. Through a little hole the children had knocked in the wall, they had crept in, and they were sitting in the branches of the trees. In every tree that he could see, there was a little child. And the trees were so glad to have the children back again that they had covered themselves with blossoms and were waving their arms gently above the children's heads. The birds were flying about and twittering with delight, and the flowers were looking up through the green grass and laughing. It was a lovely scene, but in one corner it was still winter. It was the farthest corner of the garden, and in it was standing a little boy. He was so small that he could not reach up to the branches of the tree, and he was wandering all around it, crying bitterly. The poor tree was still quite covered with frost and snow. And the giant's heart melted as he looked out. "How selfish I have been," he said. "Now I know why the spring would not come. I will put that poor little boy on the top of the tree, and then I will knock down the wall, and my garden shall be the children's playground forever and ever." He was truly very sorry for what he had done. So he crept downstairs and opened the front door quite softly and went out into the garden. But when the children saw him, they were so frightened that they all ran away, and the garden became winter again. Only the little boy did not run, for his eyes were so full of tears that he did not see the giant coming. And the giant strode up behind him and took him gently in his hand and put him up into the tree. And the tree at once broke into blossom, and the birds came and sang on it, and the little boy stretched out his 2 arms and flung them around the giant's neck and kissed him. When the other children saw that the giant was not wicked any longer, they came running back, and with them came the spring. "It is your garden now, little children," said the giant. And he took a great axe and he knocked down the wall. And when the people were going to market at 12 o'clock, they found the giant, the one they had thought so fearsome, playing with the children in the most beautiful garden they had ever seen.